Very good evening. This is the Urban Debate. I am Afrida Rahman Ali. Demonstrations, dharnas, protests, hunger strikes, or religious ceremonies for that matter are no longer allowed in the presence of Parliament House. This circular on dharnas come amid the opposition outrage over the list of words that will now be considered unparliamentary in both houses of Parliament. Congress General Secretary and the Chief Whip of the party in Rajya Sabha, Jairam Ramesh, was among the first to take to Twitter to attack the government, saying, and I quote, Vishwaguru's latest salvo, dharna mana hai, unquote. Not just Jairam Ramesh, a series of leaders after him took to Twitter. Take Manish Tiwari, for instance. He says, it is indeed unfortunate. First, word war, and now this. Following that, you heard also TMC MP Derek O'Brien saying that dharnas and fasts are legitimate tactics to register protests. TMC MP Mahua Moitra also echoing a similar sentiment, where she says, and I quote, why not just remove Gandhiji's statue from the premises and erase Article 19A of the Constitution, unquote. Well, the bulletin, which has been issued by the Rajya Sabha Secretary General PC Modi ahead of the monsoon session of Parliament beginning 18 July, said kind cooperation of the members is solicited. Opposition members have in the past staged protests inside Parliament complex, and hunger strikes outside Mahatma Gandhi's statue have also been held within the Parliament complex. However, so the question, of course, then arises that why this circular? The opposition is fuming over this so-called ban on the dharnas. Let me welcome here on the program, joining me this evening, Shweta Shalini, who is a spokesperson of the BJP, Radhika Khera, Congress spokesperson, Dr. Shashi Panja, Minister in charge in Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare, also national spokesperson of the TMC, Sandip Ghose, political commentator and author. Very good evening to all of you. And before I come to each one of you with questions, let's quickly listen in to some important political voices that reacted to the circular.
किंवा निदर्शन करण्याचा जो अधिकार आहे किंवा मौन धारण धरून यातना जाणून करायची ही जो एक अधिकार आहे त्याच्यावर ही बंदी आणली आणि या गोष्टी सहन होणार नाही हा निर्णय कुणाशी उचलून चर्चा केली.
What is your vision in the 75th year of India's independence? Are you actually taking away the very sheen, the very substance of parliamentary democracy? I would urge Honorable Prime Minister, Lok Sabha Speaker, Honorable Chairman Rajya Sabha, please stop this brutal assault on the right to protest.
All right, Radhika Khera, I want to begin by asking you about what the Lok Sabha Speaker said later, since we played the opposition leader voices. The Lok Sabha Speaker has said that this has always been the norm. It's a sort of a reiteration. So what is the hullabaloo all about?
See, when you talk about, there are certain things that have been banned. Now, when you say that there will be no religious practices or ceremonies or any pujas that will be held in Parliament, yesterday when our Honorable Prime Minister was unveiling the new changed national emblem, he was conducting a puja. So when you're starting with this, वो कहते हैं ना सबसे पहले look at yourself and then go and give that gyan to others, but that does not work. And he is allowed to do everything. The Prime Minister can go outside the country, use unparliamentary words which are banned today in India's parliament. Words like ashamed, Indians were ashamed of being called Indians. He can go and say that in Times Square. That is allowed. But Indian parliamentarians cannot say that we are ashamed that the Prime Minister is not addressing something which is affecting millions of farmers. They're ashamed that the Prime Minister is silent on issues when there is so much hatred being spread. You cannot talk about sexual harassment. If a woman is molested, if a woman is raped, a parliamentarian cannot talk about it. If there is any sexual exploitation or harassment, you cannot use that word because that is banned. And these are the kind of words that bring about any sort of
No, what I was asking
if
you
we have
is
to
the
raise
Lok
an
Sabha
issue.
speaker is saying
Sec-
it's part of the norm. It's always existed, even in the UPA rule. It was always there that you cannot have dharnas in the parliament complex. Of course, we've seen number of
Well, let
protests
me-
by both the sides, by the UPA as well as the NEA, which is why it's confusing. What is this, is the reaction from the opposition leaders all about?
I'll tell you, when Congress was in power, Rajiv Gandhi ji wanted to bring in computers to India. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, former Prime Minister and most powerful and senior BJP leader, who brought BJP from 2 seats to where it is today, came protesting in a bullock cart and said that I am against computers and they should not be brought to the country. So this is what was allowed in Parliament. Nobody stopped him from coming on a bullock cart. Can you imagine that happening today? You're not even allowed to sit and protest silently, leave alone bringing a bullock cart. So if we are talking about what had happened in previous governments, I think he forgot that. Now, let me come back. We are not, unless that, of course, that this is a undeclared emergency, now they might as well declare it an emergency. So all these words are not allowed, all those words which suit the narrative of the BJP government and helps them run away from the issues, because the only thing Modi ji wants to hear is Modi, 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 hail Modi, yay Modi, Modi ji, Modi ji. That is the only thing he wants to hear. Well, that is not the reality of the nation. The reality of the nation is there is
no, this is a circular by the speaker, which the speaker says, and I'm simply quoting him here, that such circulars to members is part of the process. The process has been going on since 2009. Now, you are saying that this is some sort of a gag order, exactly what we heard yesterday as well. On the words that the parliamentarians were using. But just for clarification, let me say here that the speaker in that case also came out and clarified and said that these words, if used in a certain context, will be expunged. Those words are not actually banned.
And
I'm afraid there's a lot of misreporting on it. Okay.
Who will take that call?
Let's move on to
if it doesn't suit the Modi government, it will be expunged. If Modi ji does not like it, if the Home Minister does not like it, if his ministers don't like, Modi ji will say, I don't like this. This is not allowed. Who is going to decide? If we talk about sexual harassment by a BJP leader, then that will be expunged because Modi ji does not like it if a BJP leader is being there. If we say that we are ashamed the Prime Minister is not addressing the issue of hatred being spread in the country, he's not coming out and telling people to maintain calm and peace and brotherhood, that will be expunged because Modi ji does not like it. Who is going to set the boundary? What is liked and what is allowed and what is not allowed?
It is guaranteed under the Constitution, Shweta, Shalini ji, that a protest is a democratic way for citizens, for parliamentarians. It is under the freedom of speech and expression. Of course, there are reasonable restrictions. The Constitution guarantees, this right. Why is the current dispensation so hell-bent on restricting something which it should have ideally welcomed? What is the harm in having constructive criticism?
Afrida, how come you asked another question to Radhika ji and you just changed and flipped over the question to me? Why should the current dispensation want it? You were just asking Radhika ji this question.
I want to ask you, the BJP was also protesting during their tenure. I want to ask you that as well. But go ahead.
See, the question is, Afrida ji, see, Hindi में कहावत है कि सावन के अंधे को सब चीज हरा ही दिखता है. Basically, the opposition has a foot and mouth syndrome. They have no issues. They do not know what to do dharna on. And that is the reason why they pick up a so-called fake issue and create an issue out of it. And that's exactly what the truth is. Now, if you go back and look, there was no ban on words, but they created a complete this thing, and it suits you people also because then it covers the media space for half an hour. We can come and debate and finish it off. But the idea is, please understand that as a protocol, every time that the parliament begins, these notices come and they go. Unfortunately, it is for the first time that they have actually read the notices. These notices have come out every time the parliament started since 2009. And second and most, because they do not have an issue against the government right now, they are focusing on, bad artisan of the national emblem and wrong emblem and, wrong notices and tagging notice and so on and so forth. So this is the actual issue because there is no issue absolutely. You said it yourself. This has been the truth from 2009, and you have been sitting on Dharna. You have been using a certain set of words, but same set of words, if used in other context, it will be expunged. Is as simple as that. And this has been in practice since 2009. What is the question of Modi ji, Modi ji, Modi ji? Of course, the nation will do Modi ji because of the work that he does. How much ever your panelists come and shout, there is going to be nothing around it.
No, let's not trivialize this debate. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to actually read out what the order says. Let's be very factual about this, because I do not want this debate to degenerate into some sort of a slanging match between political parties. That is not what we do over here. So in fact, let's just focus on the circular. It says members cannot use the presence of the Parliament House for any demonstration, dharna, strike, fast, or for the purpose of performing any religious ceremony. Now, there again, I feel, Shweta, Shalini, the members of the opposition may have a valid point when they point out to the ceremony conducted for foisting the emblem. There was a religious ceremony conducted. That is being pointed out, which is also what the previous speaker mentioned. Please respond to that. Was it not a violation of this particular order by the speaker?
So today, by the way, today when there is a congregation of people and people come together and protest against this notice, again, is this not a violation? And if it is a violation, please go ahead. Is there somebody who's gone ahead, apart from your panelist, Radhika ji, I just heard her, but has somebody gone into the parliament and to the speaker to write a letter saying that you went against your own notice? Has anybody done that?
So you're accepting that there was a transgression, there was a violation of the current norm. Are you accepting it?
You need to understand what does it say. The notice categorically, you have read it,
yes,
Afrida
I
ji,
did.
And it says categorically that within the parliament session, these things are not allowed. There is a new parliament house. In the parliament house, there is a national emblem, which was, and it was a groundbreaking ceremony for the new parliament house. And
okay, so in the new parliament, it does not apply as of now, is what you're saying. It's in the existing parliament complex.
It is not, the session is not going on there. It is not a current parliament. There are no sessions happening there. It's a new building, which is not, it is just about beginning. It was a launch ceremony of that parliament building. It is just a building.
Dr. Shashi Panja, you want to come into this? Do you have an argument on whether there should be this kind of protest within the parliament complex or not?
Yes, ma'am. Obviously, you've invited me to the debate.
Yes.
I, of course, even our party, All India Trinamool Congress, has a lot to say. I mean, finally, the bulldozer has arrived in Parliament House complex. So finally, the bulldozer is here. And truly, somehow, because certain points have been discussed, I would just say that both houses have speakers. The judgment or the prudence of the speaker could not be relied upon. It could have been just within their jurisdiction to either keep those statements, any of the statements of the members of the parliament, or expunge them. So somehow the powers of the speaker also appear to be curtailed. Third, just those issues, just those words, the gag order, the dharnas, why it would have happened. And I'm surprised to hear this previous speaker saying that there are no issues. There are so many issues in the country. We wish to discuss that. Unemployment. We wish to discuss petroleum prices, gas prices, diesel prices. We wish to discuss the downfall of the rupee. There are so many issues we want to discuss. The medicines, the power, the food, the inflation. Well, how can you say that there are no issues? That there are so many issues which have to discuss. And that's why the gag order, I mean, all of us are, even I'm elected from my state, I'm a legislator. I have to face the people. I have to face the press. I have to face questions in assembly. So similarly, elected or nominated members, you have to face the people and you're raising people's issues. But no, you cannot talk. If the government has not performed, the opposition obviously will raise questions. So isn't this going to be very unparliamentary that you're not able to now speak the truth? I mean, you have to lie truth is going to be very unpleasant. And
isn't the forum of the parliament itself not enough? Are you saying that within the floor of the house, it's not a platform that is sufficient? You also need to raise it outside. Is that what you're saying? Go ahead.
Yes, both. Inside the house, there is a gag order on certain terms, which, everybody, we are all not naive. We know they are not so harmful terms. We are not able to say those. You cannot say those. And outside, you cannot demonstrate either. What is the fear? Majority, you have the majority. What are you fearing? There is no press conference by the Prime Minister. You just shy away from democratic norms.
But for Mahua Moitra to say erase Article 19(1) of the Constitution, isn't it taking a rather extreme position? Article 19 is not just for the politicians, right? It's for the citizenry at large. She's saying remove that. That is also a little extreme. It is as if everything only exists for the netas. I'm just asking you as a point of argument. Would it be fair to say remove that? I understand that there's anger and there's a strong reaction coming in.
We are fighting for Article 1052, which says what they say is subject only to the discipline of the rules of the parliament, the good sense of the members, and the control of the proceedings by the speaker. I cannot imagine, you cannot even trust your own speakers, the speakers of the house. Leave it to them. You've curtailed their powers in a way. And really, if there were questions, look at the number of bills which are passed and look at number of the ordinances which are passed. Look at the farm bills which were passed within minutes on a sound vote. What happened? 1 year of farmer protest. There are so many issues to be discussed. This budget that we had recently, the budget session, you could not discuss the budget. 73% of the budget just was cleared without any discussion. Is this democracy?
Right. So both the members, the spokesperson of the opposition parties have made two very valid points. One is that you don't allow us to make our points in the floor of the House. We know what happened in the last monsoon session. 12 MPs were suspended. Then now there is a gag order on certain words which will be expunged, which means that the entire message will be lost if you sort of beep out that many words. I do understand that you can utter those words, but once you have done so, the speaker in his discretion will remove those words. Now comes the third circular, which says you cannot protest outside in the parliament complex, something that has always been happening. The speaker says, well, it's part of procedure. Why not just go ahead and say that, please, go ahead and protest, but it is in my bounden duty that I have to release this circular. Mr. Sandip Ghose, where do you stand on this debate?
First of all, I don't hold a brief for anyone, either the parties, the government, or for that matter, the Speaker of the House. So I'll tell you from my common sense, independent point. First of all, these circulars are between the Speaker and the members of the Parliament. It is not for you and me per se. It's for our information, but it is there. I'm not too sure how Dr. Panja talked about, that these are not, the speaker is being disempowered. The government has got nothing to do with these circulars. These circulars have been issued by the speaker and the chairman of the House, and his authority or her authority remains supreme over there. And so therefore to say that the speaker will expunge something because Modi ji bolta hai or Amit Shah, I don't know where that is coming from, because so far all our speakers, including those in the NDA term whom we knew, like who had very strong affiliations to the party, etc., they have, acquitted themselves, I think, very remarkably. So we have to, it's a question of the parliamentarians, MPs, first of all, trusting the speaker and the head of the House in Rajasthan. Number two is there are two distinct issues we are talking about. We are talking about the protests and we are talking about what is being discussed inside the parliament. And the words, there are a lot of references being drawn by what someone said, outside in Times Square. Similarly, those are, I don't think those are germane, because if somebody said something in Times Square, we're ashamed of the country, somebody else said somewhere at Maut Ka Saudagar, that's different. But those two things you cannot be saying inside the parliament. And if it's said inside the parliament, what this list says is the speaker has it is under his discretion whether to expunge or not expunge. So therefore, when we exaggerate by saying they are banned, there are gag orders, I think that's a huge exaggeration. This is just like a list, so that tomorrow if somebody expunges some word and they say, why do you call it unparliamentary? There's a reference here, just like Oxford Dictionary.
Mr. Ghosh, the problem is not with the process of expunging words, which the speaker in his discretion might find objectionable. The problem is with the list of words. With
but that
words
list,
like
so
incompetent can be expunged, which means the whole meaning of the sentence will be completely lost.
Give me a second, I'll come there.
Yes.
These list of words exist not only in Parliament, they exist in the legislatures. And people have pointed out many Congress rule states, the legislatures have similar words. Now, the question which I'm telling you, I started with, it's between the speaker and the parliamentarians. So this question can be very easily raised on the floor of the House on Monday to say you have expunged these words, but maybe you're outdated or you're out of tune. These are very much part of the legal parlance. You'll find them in OED or somewhere else. So why are you doing? And that should be done. You don't necessarily need to take this debate public on Twitter and everywhere else to sort it out. Sort it out because it's between the head of the House and the members. Number two,
Yes.
on a very different note, I and Dr. Panja come from the same city and the same, though I don't live there anymore. What I'm little pained is Bengal has produced some of the finest parliamentarians, and most of them have been in the opposition. Indrajit Ray, Somnath Chatterjee, and Hiren Mukherjee, you can just name them. I don't think anybody of them, to make a point and make their mark, had to use any controversial term. Now comes to the question of the, and these things have been going on, as people have pointed out, since 1959. Now comes to the question of the dharnas or the things happening inside. Now, this again, what I gather, I'm no expert, that this is a general circular, and this has been coming, as something you yourself pointed out, from 2009 or whenever. It is more related to, you recall, what is the attacks which happened inside the parliament. Okay, it is more of a security-related issue on which guidelines are given, but nobody has prevented these dharnas. When people have gone and sat beneath the Gandhi statue or whatever, it has always been allowed. It is just like there could be a section 144, announced for the whole city, but it's applied selectively. So this is again a matter, what is allowed. Now, getting a bullock cart into the parliament or coming in a cycle, to my mind, that is not a dharna. That is a demonstration, symbolic demonstration. It's like instead of coming in a car, tomorrow you're coming in a bullock cart. Subject to security rules, a bullock cart is allowed in the parliament or not allowed in the parliament. But the dharna, today's situation...
Yes, I get your point. I get your point. I get your point. You made a point about, maintaining certain decorum. There could be security issues. But like I said, I'm going to just go strictly by what the Constitution allows. And if I can have those graphics up again, this is with regards to Article 19(1), where the right to peacefully assemble allows people, this is a constitutional right that guarantees right to peaceably assemble, allows people to question and object to acts of the government by demonstrations, agitations, and public meetings, to launch sustained protest movements. This is something guaranteed under the Constitution. But yes, there are reasonable restrictions. Let's play out those points as well. These reasonable restrictions are imposed in the interest of the following: sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, contempt of court, defamation, and incitement to an offense. That's all playing out for our viewers to, grasp, if they want to, on what are the reasonable restrictions. So, Shweta, Shalini, which of these do you think were violated by the members of the opposition? Because when the shoe was on the other foot and when the BJP was in the opposition, there were enough and more demonstrations. I don't need to read out to you the number of demonstrations led by Arun Jaitley, by Sushma Swaraj. So what are we talking about?
So, Afrida ji, before coming to your question, I must congratulate you. I always think that in a mirror now debate, usually it is one versus all. But I was usually surprised by when Sandeep started talking. But coming and picking out points from what Shashi ji actually said. Shashi ji actually said, and Shashi ji, this is to you, the bulldozer has not yet come. Please wait for a couple of years. Bulldozer will actually come to the parliament. But having said that, on a lighter note, very
What do you mean,
seriously,
bulldozer will come to the parliament? I cannot have that without
me
you
add-
elaborating
let
on
me-
it. What does that mean?
Yes, I will
Shweta?
elaborate that, but let me pinpoint the second
Shweta ji.
point that I wanted to say. Shashi ji, let me just finish
Shweta
this,
ji.
then I will take your...
No,
No,
we'll
I just
allow
wanted to
everyone
ask
to make
you-
their points. Let Shweta
No, I just
complete,
wanted
please.
to ask her on a lighter note. I wanted to ask her on a lighter note. Are you going to retain the word bulldozer or will that be unparliamentary soon?
That depends when the bulldozer will come into the parliament. Then
after
the
you
speaker,
roll it in and then it will become unparliamentary.
You heard what Sandip ji said. It is between the parliamentarians and the speaker at that point of time. So that was on a lighter note,
is it?
Afrida. But having said that, please understand, Shashi ji actually mentioned it, that there are many issues. See, the idea is that the parliament is a place to discuss the issues. The dharna that people do is basically more, one, for the media, and second, to bring it to the notice of a lot of things. And trust me on this, that since 2009 also, a whole lot of dharnas have been done. But as I mentioned earlier, it is a protocol which needs to be followed. And hence, needless to say, but hardly any action is taken. But this is followed because, one, yes, safety is prima facie the concern, but also it also means that the priority remains for people, from parliamentarians, to come inside and discuss the issues of the people which they are representing and whom they are representing. And second, in English language, there is a term called unparliamentary, which means some words which we do not like, but we don't.
No, I can understand some words, Bal, Buddhi, or Shakuni, or some of those which may sound disgraceful. But there are some words in common parlance, everybody uses them. So if somebody is challenged to make an address without using any of these words,
So
I don't think any of us will be able to get past even a single sentence. Anyway,
before you conclude,
let's have the other panelists come in. I have very little time. Dr. Panja, go ahead.
Yes. No, I just wanted to say that finally the government wakes up to this fact that there should be discussion. That is something which they were shying away from. That is precisely the discussion which the opposition also did.
No, hang on. Now let Dr. Panja
the House
speak.
belongs to the opposition.
Let the TMC spokesperson speak.
We are waiting for a
No
day.
interruptions, please, Shweta ji. No interruptions. We cannot understand at all who's saying what. Go ahead. Yes, Dr. Panja, go ahead.
House belongs to the opposition. You know, this is also common parliamentary procedure. But there has to be some discussion. Then how malignant are these words? Shweta ji, how malignant are these words? Like ashamed, childishness, corrupt, foolish. Mr. Ghosh, you were mentioning about very good parliamentarians from West Bengal. Do you really agree that these words are very malignant? Ashamed, corrupt, betrayed, criminal. Is it very shameful? Then you really have to think about those words. These very parliamentarians who use outside, goli maro, etc. So if you are not trying to allow that inside, see that they exercise that much restraint outside too. In Andolan GV, who are they calling? They call Khalistani. Anybody who protests against the government is called Khalistani, anti-national. We should do away with those words. Why only inside parliament? Even outside, we should have to exercise the restraint. Well, I'm a parliamentarian inside parliament. I'm also a parliamentarian outside parliament. So I should show that much restraint and decency and civility. And which uncivil protests have taken within the Parliament House complex, which has disrupted parliament? Which uncivil, be it Atal Bihari Vajpayee or be it during any regime? So frankly, I think this is very unfortunate, and we still feel, everybody understands that totally there is going to be a curb on democratic discussions and democracy. This is absolutely true and very unfortunate.
Okay. Attack on democracy. Radhika Khera, you want to come in and add to what you just heard and respond also to what Shweta, Shalini and Sandip Ghose said?
I'm going to make two very important points. There are three women on here right now, four women actually. If three panelists and we see the speaker, and I'm very appalled that nobody has an issue other than me that the word sexual harassment is being removed and is going to be expunged. Why? This is an issue which many of our women are facing. There is so much sexual harassment, there is sexual exploitation.
Sure.
Now, if there's something that is being raised that there's a BJP leader or a leader who is one of their allies, and there is something like that, the speaker may go ahead and expunge it if it does not suit them. That is something which needs to be, and that is the harsh reality of the country today. Women are being exploited, not only women, even men. And Mr. Ghosh should also agree with me over there. So it is not only about women anymore. Second thing, I really take offense when someone on the panel comes and says कि wait करिए हमारे parliament पे bulldozer आएगा. Hello, that I'm sorry, that is not the kind of thing that I will accept for my temple of democracy. And when you call आप देश बदल रहे हैं, नया भारत का निर्माण कर रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी, और जिनके प्रवक्ता यहाँ पे चैनल पे बैठे हैं, she is saying that the new parliament building where the national emblem was unveiled yesterday by the prime minister after conducting a puja, वो सिर्फ एक बिल्डिंग है, वो हमारा डेमोक्रेसी का टेम्पल है आने वाला. I'm sorry, this is very offensive on national television that a BJP. Please let me complete, madam. I did not speak over you. I think this is what should be expanded.
Please hold on, Shweta, Shalini. Let Ms. Khera complete.
These are very important issues. These are very important issues that need to be. And when you talk about you cannot protest, there should be debates. When there are debates, the opposition wants to discuss. When has the government gone and discussed? Did they discuss the farm bills? So many bills have gone, okay, cleared. Okay, cleared. GST was called on and in the middle of the night. When has this government discussed anything with the opposition? And when you discuss, when you want to talk, they pick up your MPs and throw them out. Now they say you cannot even protest. Can sit outside the Gandhi statue and protest if you've been picked out if you've been thrown out from the parliament. What do we do? What does a member of parliament do? What we saw in the previous sessions, the way the parliamentarians were being handled.
The speaker has also claimed that Manmohan Singh, in fact, was the prime minister when protests were banned in parliament for the first time. It was under the UPA regime. When this concept of banning protest came about, the germination of this particular idea came under your government, which is what the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Om Birla, is saying.
What is very, I don't know if I'm allowed to use those words on debates also anymore. What is really confusing, let's use the word confusing, I'm sure that is allowed. Now, what is really confusing is they have to decide whether they're okay with what the UP had done or the Congress government has done. They are creating a Naya Bharat, Nav Nirman ho raha hai Bharat ko. They've changed the national emblem, they've changed the way how the lion looks. अब तो इनके लिए पार्लियामेंट की बिल्डिंग, टेम्पल ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, सिर्फ एक बिल्डिंग है. प्रधानमंत्री वहां पे जाके पूजा करके आते हैं. शुभ आरंभ जब हो जाता है और पूजा हो जाती है, मुझे नहीं पता कि कौन से धर्म को फॉलो करती है फेलो पैनलिस्ट. जब पूजा हो जाती है तो वो पार्लियामेंट हाउस बन गया, वो स्थापित हो गया, वहां पे हमारा नेशनल एंथम लग गया, तो वो एक सिर्फ बिल्डिंग नहीं रह गई है मोहतरमा. तो द पॉइंट इज,
so we have taken all the points. In fact, we'll have to leave it to our viewers to decide which side they agree with, whether this is really stifling the voice of the opposition, whether this is a reiteration of an existing norm, whether this is the same argument that was made by the UPA when they were in power to ban protests. We will have to, of course, I allowed all the panelists to make their points, but I'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thanks to all my panelists.